Hi, everyone. My name is Jneé Hill. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. First of all, Jay, Dr. Nichols, whichever you prefer, thank you so much for opening up. I really appreciate your openness and vulnerability. It helped ease my nerves being here today. I am a therapist in private practice. I've been in private practice since the pandemic. Historically, I worked in college mental health for many years. I found my way to the Awe Project via Jeff. He found my book and reached out, which was really wonderful. And I really enjoyed the project. So I wrote a book on narrative therapy. Narrative therapy is a specific modality that, in its essence, is really just about helping clients see their narratives, the stories that they are telling themselves, bring a lot of awareness to it, and work to figure out what are the narratives that are serving them. What are some narratives that, we might want to take a look at and be shifted, and go about some ways to deconstruct, reframe, and sort of like re-envision and move towards narratives that feel more affirming, more empowering, and get people where they want to go. Um, in private practice these days, I work more as a trauma-focused therapist, doing a lot of EMDR work and body-based work. So I guess to answer the first question that we are supposed to do around how awe has impacted my work, I think as a therapist, and this is why the awe project was really, really cool. As I was looking at the materials that Jeff sent out on the research that you've done, as I was reading through it, it seemed really, really clear that my work as a therapist is in a way helping people see more awe, helping people move towards it and integrate it into their lives in a day-to-day basis. Um, from looking at the website, a lot of us are in the service industry, and we see a lot of people that they're coming to us not on their best day. They're having a hard time most of the time, and there are a lot of struggles, and our work is to help them sort of like move through it. I think the special thing about awe and the definitions, and whenever I think about awe as a concept, one of the things that stands out to me, I'm always hit with like this idea of vastness, and that vastness always hits me with a perspective shift. I think when people come to me, they are suffering in a lot of different ways. I work primarily with people who are experiencing complex trauma, usually relationally, and sometimes I get like some discrete trauma, like people who have like lost a child in a tragic way, or like tragic accidents and things like that. But most of it is like developmental relational trauma. And that impacts the way that people feel connected to others, and it impacts the way that people see themselves. So a lot of my work is really, really slow and helping people essentially just see things in another way. Um, I think that, Jay, when you were speaking about the fire, there was something about the way that you spoke about it. It seemed like there was like a reverence and respect for the fire. And I think that a lot in my work, what I try and do is help clients feel the same level of like reverence and respect for the things that they have been through, and the ways that their systems have helped them survive, cope, and thrive. So I get a massive sense of awe when I see the really incredible and creative ways that our brains protect us. Like, I think when we dissociate is a really sophisticated and incredible way that people survive. And, unfortunately, it can be challenging and dangerous in a lot of different ways, but it can be insanely protective. And I think that is an incredible thing that our bodies do. I think that people have really sophisticated protections, defense mechanisms that they cultivate over the years. And I think that by highlighting it in that way and sort of like framing, like, look at the ways that you've developed to protect yourself, and the things that you have done in the face of all of this adversity. Like that's really, really, really incredible. I think that bringing that level of compassion and putting things in perspective in that way reduces a lot of the self-criticism and helps people move towards change in a lot of ways. And that to me, I mean, I love what I do, but I think that's pretty incredible. So when I think about how awe impacts my work on like a direct level, that's what comes to mind. As a therapist, I was really struck by this project. I was in the city for 10 years and then I got sick of it, for lack of better words, and I had to leave. So I moved to the Hudson Valley, and I remember just feeling this itch to get out of the city. And I was like, I need ease, I need beauty, I need ease, I need beauty. And I think what I was really, really craving was something that would help me feel something like more sustainable in my life. So I think like awe in my personal life, what I find that helps me, keep doing the work that I do and also just live and enjoy life is like really being able to sort of like look out and see beauty all around me and appreciate it, see a deer, in the woods, see, the stream in my backyard, see my dog frolic. And I think those moments just help me slow down and help me feel really, really grounded. And that I think helps keep me going to sort of like serve the clients who are going through really, really challenging times. Um, let's see. In
Janae,
terms
I'll
of,
jump in super real quick with that because I'm thinking, and I want to be really brief because I know I want to say a lot of things and we have the others. I guess perhaps maybe before you jump to your video, one thing I just want to point out for the audience, which I've said in previous talks, I have no idea what 10 years ago or 20 years ago Jeff would be thinking when you just said that about you moved up there to see the deer or like having a sip of coffee and looking out at the forest. Because those are the same things I say. I still live in Queens, by the way. I didn't leave the city yet. But this is why I say I don't care what 10 years ago or 20 years ago Jeff would think or say. That guy doesn't exist. Current day Jeff. And forget about researcher Jeff, human being Jeff knows it's those truly little things that help me get by each day, not just surviving, but thriving. So thank you for pointing that out because it really is the cluster connection of those little things, which are important. Thank you. Sorry.
yeah, I love Queens. I'll always miss Astoria. Always. Maybe one day I'll go back. Um, in terms of, and I feel like that was kind of like a short, like personal awe story, like moving up here for the deer in the trees. Um, so in terms of the video, so I had the day 5 morning video. That video, it looked like it was the one that had like we're all connected, like the words. But I think that video it did a really fantastic job of capturing the vastness of the various landscapes and shifting perspectives from something really as large and magnificent as like what I think was a blue whale. I don't know, you'll have to help me out with that, Jay. To something as tiny as a single raindrop on a leaf with like the reflection of, some sort of flower, a lily. It was really stunning. I did appreciate the messages, to be honest. The one that stood out to me the most was "We are all connected," and it had like beautiful images of jellyfish and other creatures, and just seeing sort of like the streaks in what I assume was someplace in Arizona. I'm not familiar with that landscape. Um, but the thing that stood out to me the most was just the way that it transitioned from vastness to teeny, teeny, tiny perspectives, and really highlighted how we're all connected. It makes me think of, in my frou-frou way, I always like to reflect on we're all stardust, stars are exploding out in the universe and creating us, and we're all connected by these molecules and science that I don't understand. And the video really made me think about that. So maybe I'll pause there.
Excellent. Thank you. Ashley, you're up first. Please introduce yourself. A reflection for what Jneé shared on the video, your own reflection. Please jump in.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Ashley Childers. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, at Vanderbilt. We have another Nashvilleian here. This is exciting. And I lived in New England for a really long time, maybe about 18 years. And so when you were talking, Jneé, about getting, out of the city, and Boston, a little different than New York, but getting out of the city and getting back to frolicking, having your dog frolic, seeing the deer. For me, coming back to Nashville, where my family has always lived for generations, that was part of that. And I've been back, oh gosh, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years. I don't know, a long time. And so I loved it when you were talking about getting back, connecting to nature, all of what folks have said already about nature and the awe-inspiring piece of it. And that video, which I'd seen before through the project and watched again for this symposium, it's just so powerful. And I'm a narratively trained therapist as well. I'm in private practice. I also teach full-time and part-time. I'm not sure. Anyway, I do a lot of different things under the umbrella of my private practice and teaching, and it all seems to be very cohesive. And as I'm a lifetime learner, and got to have Jeff as a professor and get to have you again, I think in the spring, it's pretty awesome as well. And so all these connections in the video, when it said we're connected, it had that quote. I don't know if it's a quote. It should be a quote from somebody brilliant. If it's not, but changing your perspective can change your life. And I think, especially as a psychotherapist, but also as a human, and the way we're connected and the way we know that our thoughts and emotions and behaviors are so interconnected, it just speaks volumes to me. And I think, and so Jneé, I loved what you said about the video, about living in New York and living in the Hudson Valley. Like, this all makes a lot of sense to me. Now I want to read your book, all of y'all's books, have it on my list. This is cool. I love to read and learn. And I think, my question to you specifically, Jneé, is about translational research. I love the name of your practice. Mine is Boring, Ashley Childers, LCSW, like boring. I had come up to it quickly, get an email, a long time ago. And so this idea of ever curious therapy, yeah, for your practice, how do you continue to sort of underscore awe, but also curiosity with the clients you get to see? You and I are on, I think, on sort of like similar paths. I was in the field of trauma for a long time, worked in the trauma center up in Boston, way back when. And sort of now in my private practice, I see individuals around self-esteem, self-love, self-curiosity as sort of a new way for me to think about that. And some of my clients to think about that. And I see folks often who have a history of trauma, but not the acuity of symptoms, where I used to see folks when they had maybe even higher levels of care at some point in my career, very high acuity. So when you said we see folks on their worst day, absolutely, that can happen. So my question is around, how do you keep that curiosity vibrant in your practice, especially in the field of trauma?
That is a great question. I love that. Thank you. I, you know, I don't know if I have like a formulaic response. I think it's just a value that's really, really important to me. I
Mhm.
think curiosity is, I kind of rank it up there with gratitude as something that just feels really, really expansive. I find in my personal life, if I'm feeling anxious or stressed or something like that, what pulls me out is being really curious. Why
Yeah.
am I feeling this way? What is going on? What are some things like I wonder what it might be like if I tried something different. I wonder what it might feel like if I just went for a freaking walk or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just something that's always been with me naturally. So whenever I went to name my practice, I was like, oh yeah, I'm ever curious. So
Yeah.
when I work with my clients, I think I see when they're suffering, I see a lot of my suffering, and I just go towards the things that have worked for me. I think that when we approach things with curiosity, it opens us up, and when we open ourselves up, then it takes the hammer away,
Mhm.
right? We stop berating ourselves, we stop harming ourselves in one way or another. And it just maybe curiosity helps us shift our perspectives, bringing it full circle back to awe.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you. I appreciate both of you, that insight. And I love how you mentioned the hammer, Jneé, again, because that's the metaphor I've been going with, so much so that I even now have like one of these stress hammers that somehow I'm going to incorporate into my trainings. But I won't hit my participants if they give me the answer I'm not looking for. I still haven't figured out how I'll use it. But now let's, Abby, just for everybody, real quick, we're at 9:54. We're going to go to the 10 o'clock. We'll get a 5-minute break at 10 o'clock. Keep in mind, this hour went really fast because I did the intro stuff on the front of the hour. We'll jump up at exactly 10:05 on the dot. And if Jneé and Jay are still around, we'll open it up, see if people have questions or comments for them. There's time to do the things we want. And me being the Zoom guy for today, I'll make sure we do. But that being said, Abby, please jump in.
Hi, I'm Abby Bell, and I am also in Nashville, but I work at Lipscomb University. And I also have had Jeff in class, and he's a wonderful professor, and I'm excited about this work. And Jneé, I loved the quote. I don't know if you have the chat up, but Jeff put a quote from your book up in the chat, and it says, your story ends up being your strength, your power, and drive for connection to others. And I think when I looked at that video, I just really love the diversity in that video. So you have like the Arizona, I assume it's Arizona, the Arizona deserts and the formations of the earth in the desert. And then you also have the ocean and the sky. And I just think there's so much diversity in what you see in that video. And I think it connects to your quote because you're talking about how connection makes how important it is to help others, to help people see their connectedness, I think is what you said. And I think one of the killers of resilience is loneliness. And I'm just curious about that and how you I would love to hear more about how you help people find that connectedness in your work. I thought that was a really interesting piece. So.
Hi, Abby, another fellow Southerner. I wrote in the chat, I'm from North Carolina originally, which is probably why I was itching to get out of the city. I love this question. The first thing that came to mind to me was shame, right? So I think a lot of people, they come to us and they feel a lot of shame. And when we think about shame, shame makes us want to cower. It makes us want to hide. It makes us want to feel small. And when we're feeling all of those things, we don't want to reach out and we don't want to connect with people. So when people are suffering, I really try and do my best to try and get to where's the shame, where are the shame-based beliefs, thoughts, all of this other stuff, like what's feeding it, where's the root of it. And then with a lot of like trauma focus work, I also do IFS, internal family systems therapy. So trying to find like those shame-based parts as well and work to heal those. So I think that by specifically seeing if we can gain access to the shame-based parts and targeting those and working to heal those, and if we're able to do that, then it sort of like just opens us up a lot more. So we're not hiding, we're not shrinking, all of that stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the work I really love is social justice work. And so, I find so much, I think that's probably the reason why I connected it to the diversity in the video, is because there's so much value in finding connections to people who are different from yourself and finding connections in the different kinds of ways you can gather awe. And so, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, Jneé.
Jumping in, Jneé, it looked like Amanda asked do you look for the resources first?
The resources, like people's personal resources, of
I'm not
course.
sure. So Amanda, if you
I
want to
think
clarify
so.
that, you
It
can
sounds,
either unmic
yes.
or write it in the chat box, or Jneé, I don't know if
Was
you want
that
to.
right, Amanda? That sounds like trauma-based language. Yeah. Yes, of course. That's always a safe place to start. So definitely figuring out what's worked for them to begin with. Like, are they already feeling connected? What are things that help them feel grounded? What are things that oh, that is wonderful. I wonder what are some of the resources that you prefer, Amanda, that stick out for you. But yeah, just starting with what helps you feel connected, grounded, what keeps you sort of like happy and present and things like that. That's always a solid place to start.
Excellent. Thank you. To wrap this up, I will throw it first back to Jay. If you have a 1 minute last comment conclusion, and then Jneé, I'll throw it to you. Then everybody, we will jump on our break, which is sponsored by, if you can read it, Fika. It's a wonderful Swedish word, which means make time to take a break, which we will. But first, Jay.
Yeah, brief reflection. One of the things that we do in our Blue Mind work is to ask people to make a list of all the places they've lived, the terrestrial names, and then right next to that, make a list of the water related with each of those locations. And it's to Janae's narrative therapy theme. It's a way to reimagine your life through a water lens. And then that new list of all the waterways associated with the town and city names becomes a jumping off point for reflection about awe and wonder, and who were you with at the creek in your backyard? Who did you see there? What lives there? What are the small and large moments? And it's just a really simple way to create a new poem, because when you read that list of water that has been by your side throughout your life and your career and your schooling and moving around and growing up and maybe even retiring, it's poetry, and it shifts your personal narrative. So just wanted to throw that out there as a very simple technique to put into your toolkit to connect individuals to water, to awe, to resilience. So that was just something that popped into my head as Jneé was speaking.
Excellent. Thank you, Jay. I tried to write that exercise in the chat box if I got that right, because I think that's pretty cool. I'm already thinking about it, but now I'm going to stop thinking about it because I want to listen to Janae's final comment.
I don't think I have a final comment.
Okay.
I love what Jay shared. I think we can wrap up there. That was a beautiful, beautiful exercise. So I'll leave it there. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Great. Please, everybody, join me in thanking our speakers, featured speakers and participants for this first session.